What's up, guys? Today is February 18th, 2014. Um, and yeah, I am almost 2 years on T. It's coming up really soon. 10 months post-op. Actually, today, 10 months post-op. Which is kind of cool. And yeah, lately I haven't been making videos because I don't know how to talk about the topics I want to talk about, I guess. I have some in mind, but yeah, aside from that, I've just been doing school stuff, work stuff, usual. Um, I did want to talk about some of that school stuff, because some of it's not really related to school, but sort of is. So, as you know, I'm a criminologist, studying crime, all that stuff. So one topic in that field is jail. And I'm not going to jail. I don't plan on going to jail. I hope I don't have to go to jail. But it is something that I've been thinking about. I read this book. It's called Fish. Somewhere over there. I don't know where, so I don't know who it's by. But it's about a guy who gets sent to a men's prison when he's very young. He's like 17. And he gets sent to a federal penitentiary. But yeah, so I was thinking about that. Like, where would I go to jail? I know I can't go to a men's facility. Um, Currently, if I went to a men's facility, I would get pregnant. Um, so, yeah, they can't have that on their hands. And I want to argue that even if a trans man has bottom surgery, going to a male prison, I still don't think that's safe. Men's prisons are really rough. I can't speak for all prisons, obviously. I've never been in prison, but especially if you're like queer in any way, prisons are really rough. There's a lot of rape, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of scary stuff. And there's a lot of guards who don't give a shit. So that just makes it even scarier. So if you're like, oh, don't worry, I'm protected. No, you're not. Um, yeah, it's scary enough being a male in prison. Being a trans man in a male prison, even if you've had every single surgery in the world and were buff as all hell, I'd still be, I still wouldn't want to, I still wouldn't want to do that. I still think that's dangerous, you know. Especially if you had bottom surgery, like, I feel like that'd be kind of, like, fragile-ish. You don't want people grabbing at it and pulling. I feel like in jail that might happen. Anyway, but on the flip side to that, going to a women's prison looking like this, I don't think that'd be too bad for me. I'm not very violent. I mean, I'm not going to start fights and stuff like that. But at the same time, is it really safe for the women in the prison for trans men to be there? And not safe as in, trans men's are going to attack them and stuff. Not necessarily, but, you know, comfortability and stuff. If there's some guy around, you may feel less comfortable for your safety, and even if your safety is not actually being threatened, it's problematic. Anyway, so I asked him about this. I asked one of my teachers about this, I should say, one of my professors, and he said it is usually up to the judge, but they go kind of based on what you got downstairs, which means I would go to women's prison, which I've said. According to my research, trans guys get harassed by the guards at women's prison more than they do the prisoners. But, thinking about it, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Orange is the new black, like, all the way. I'd be covered in bodies. Yeah, so that's really interesting. Another reason why I bring this up is for those who don't follow, like, trans news. there's a transgender woman who was flying out of Canada. She had an expired visa, um, so she left and then had to get her stuff. So she came back to get her stuff, and then was going back home, and then she was stopped at the Canadian Ontario Border Patrol thing, and was imprisoned and was locked in a male-only facility. And like I'll post the link down below. She looks very much female. I don't know how they even knew she was trans. Maybe when it came up on their little like thingy on the visa, her passport said female. I I think that's super dangerous. Sending a trans woman to a male facility, um, just as even more dangerous. Sending queer people to jail, dangerous, dangerous, especially trans people. So yeah, just be aware that this is a thing. I just thought I'd bring that up because not many people think about going to jail until it is too late. So yeah, jail. Anyway, so also related kind of to school, I'm in this practicum program. It's the... Oh wait, one more thing. One more thing about the jail thing. Okay, so the professor that I talked to that about, I first asked him in his office about where trans people go to jail. And then he actually was the one who sent me that article. It was about like a week later, a couple days later, something like that. And it just so happened to come up. So we talked about it after class with another friend of mine who was there as well. And it's really interesting because this teacher doesn't know I'm trans. When I asked him about where trans people go to jail, he was talking to me as if I were cis. He knows I've had a surgery. He knows I've had my name legally changed. He doesn't know why. Oh, and he also knows that I was in a clinical psychology office and took the MMPI, which is the Minnesota Multifaceted Personality Inventory, which kind of measures how sane you are and that kind of thing. We were talking about it in class. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've taken that. It's like 283 questions of fun," and yeah. That was a trans thing. I was in, the clinical psychologist's office to get approved for surgery. Like, you gotta do it. So I feel like I have all these, like, weird experiences that if you just kind of, like, put them together, like, plus all this, I feel like he's gonna figure it out. We were talking about, like, passports and stuff, and I was like, oh, well, was it a Canadian passport? Because, like, I know that you can change without having surgery. Sometimes you can get a temporary one, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, it was the UK one. I was like, oh, I don't know those laws. I only know Canada's laws. And he was asking about, like, ID changes. And I was like, oh, yeah, you need a letter from your surgeon. And, yeah, you need that. Or else you can't change your stuff. Like, but, yeah. So, I don't know if this professor knows yet. Or has figured it out yet. But I guess next time this comes up, I'll be like, oh, yeah, by the way, I am trans. Just so you know. He's like one of the I feel like a lot of my professors do know. One of my professors, after giving me my test back and reading my last name, said my last name sounded familiar, which scares the bejeebers out of me, because I haven't been here that long. So, anyway, that aside, in the same class, we're designing surveys, and the one that I'm doing is for a program that involves immigrant and refugee children, so we're not actually allowed to, like, do much with them. Like, we're not allowed to put them in a focus group and talk to them about stuff, and, like, we can administer a survey, kind of, but there's a lot of ethics issues in that, so that's kind of slowing us down and making sure we can't do anything. However, I asked my teacher about outside of the classroom, if I am just, Joe Blow on the street, am I allowed to, put surveys out there without, being hounded for ethics concerns? And he said, yes, I'm basically a free agent. So, what I'm really interested in doing is putting out a survey for trans guys. I'm not gonna go into the trans woman aspect because I'm not a trans woman, obviously. And I feel like I don't know much about the topic enough to put together a survey to measure this kind of stuff. But what I want to focus on is more of the emotional and social changes through transition, especially on testosterone. I want to say especially after maybe like top surgery too. Um, I've done the demographics questions up so far, just so I can start putting people aside. And those are just about ready to go. So now all I need is the actual questions to find out what I want to find out. So if there's anything that you want to know about social and emotional changes that you really wish was out there, and that there was some kind of survey of trans guys who talked about it, and you could actually gather, and actually read up something about it. If you have one of those things, let me know. Send me a message in YouTube, Tumblr, Facebook, wherever we're connected. Send me a message, and I will try to work it into the survey. Yeah, I'm really I feel like physical transition is what people focus on. They talk about, the voice deepening, the facial hair, the fat redistribution, blah, blah, blah. But, up here is kind of like, I don't know. I feel like up here is kind of, people don't focus on this, but, like, you have to. What happens after the dysphoria is gone, Well, not gone, but, like, what happens socially is super important. And emotions are important, like how you emotionally change, how your brain changes on testosterone. I feel like my brain's changed. So I'm really curious to find out how other people have experienced, the masculine or emasculating effects of testosterone and all that jazz. So yeah, if you have a question, let me know. This is getting long now, so I'm going to cut it off here. Yeah, have a good night.